What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the KindaFunny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at KindaFunny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today I'm joined by my guy, my best friend, the rogue one, Mr. Gary Witta, or should I call you Spartan 117? Gary, how's it going, my guy?
I feel like more like Spartan RIP the way I've been playing. It's not been great. I'm going to tell you about my adventures in multiplayer. But yes, hello. Well, good to be back with you, Mike. As you know, we record this on a Friday. It goes out Saturday morning. But here we are. What is it, like 3:41 p.m. on a Friday afternoon? And by the time we wrap up, it's usually around 5. We officially go into TGIF mode. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, talking about video games.
It is the perfect way to end the week, Gary. You know, you and I, we are coming back after holiday break, so we'll talk about our holiday. We'll talk about the break, eating big for Thanksgiving, and hopefully playing a lot of games. But it's always fun to get back out of break mode, try to get the wheels turning again at work and at school and at the fun stuff that you have. And, you know, we're at the end of the first week, and I'm sure everybody's tired and they want to go right back to break. And we're in that just hard period, whether you're at school or back at work. Now you got to go for 3 straight weeks until we can get to the Christmas holiday break, you know, Gary, and this is the hardest part of the year right here to get through this.
Everyone gets senioritis this time of the year, Mike, and I get it big time. Like as soon as you get into Thanksgiving, I'm kind of checked out until the end of the year. Somebody posted on Twitter the other day, I thought it was funny. It's like, happy, let's circle back after the holiday season to everyone. I was like, yep, that's the catchphrase.
That's the
phrase. Think about it right
say.
now. Talk to me January 5th or something like that. But right now I'm tuning out.
I'm feeling it, Gary. But the cool part is we get a nice little treat here next week. Of course, Halo Infinite will drop. It's hard to believe that we're here, Gary. We're going to talk about a Game Pass update, and it feels almost unreal to see Halo Infinite on the Game Pass roster, to think it's been 6 years since Halo 5 when we finally get to jump into the campaign of Halo Infinite starting off next week. Of course, we've been playing the multiplayer, which I know you and we're going to go wild on and talk about today. I actually have brought up your stats for the Halo multiplayer, so we're going to talk about
have you?
Years. Yep.
Where'd you go for that Halo waypoint?
HaloTracker.com is where I want you to go.
This is embarrassing. Really? You're going to make me do this?
We're going to talk about your stats, but of course, this week on the podcast, we're going to talk a lot about Halo, and we're going to talk about some other Xbox news that all the best friends need to know about. But you know, to kick off the show, I always like to keep it fun, Gary. I like to get you and Paris chatting it up, having a good time with me. And there's something that you put out last week during the holiday break that I think all of us want to know about. And we want to ask you some questions because you're the big Hollywood screenwriter. And of course, there's a lot of things that could have been out there in the ethos that you've created. But you put out on Twitter, Gary Witta, Mirror's Edge, episode 101, Catalyst, a fun little script right there showing off what could have been. Why don't you tell me and the best friends what the heck this was all about?
I didn't know you were going to bring this up, and there's actually really not that much I can say beyond what I showed. Like, every now and again, I go through my projects folder, and the life of a screenwriter, and maybe any creative person, is like 99% of the stuff that you work on never really sees the light of day. That's certainly true in my business. For every thing of mine that you see, a movie that's released or a book that's published or whatever, there's like 50 others or 100 others that didn't quite make it across the finish line. So there's a lot more heartbreak in this business creatively than there is, moments of triumph and victory. And every now and again, I look through my projects folder, and there's stuff in there that I worked on that got made and was well received, and that's very satisfying. But 95% of it is stuff that I spent hours, days, weeks, months, years working on, but which never saw the light of day. And, other than maybe some interesting stories along the way, was kind of a big waste of time, because if it never ends up in front of an audience, what was the point? And so every now and again, I'll post a little tidbit of something that I worked on that never saw the light of day. And yeah, several years ago, I worked on there was a production company that had the rights to make a TV series out of the Mirror's Edge games, the EA Dice games. And I've always loved those Mirror's Edge games. I always thought there was potential for something there. They're very cinematic, very kind of fast moving, just very cool aesthetic, futuristic and sleek, and has something to say about, government control of the population. And there's some interesting themes there, storytelling wise. And I thought I could do something with it. So yeah, I wrote a pilot, which the company liked. And, just like, again, 99% of other TV pilots that get written in Hollywood, it never made it across the finish line. But I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was fondly reminded of paging back through it, going, no, this is actually not that bad. I'm kind of bummed out that it never got made. I should stop looking in my old folders because there's nothing but a trail of tears.
Heartache right there, Gary. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And I know, of course, everybody out there in the Twitterverse was very excited and asking you questions about that and what could have been.
I know.
And
I
it's awesome to ask you
gotta
about
stop doing that because all these people responding, going, "Oh, I'd love to have seen that." I'm like, I know, right? And it just makes me feel even worse.
Oh, Gary, it's like that. Well, of course, it is always fun to talk with you about that because it is such a secretive thing, right? You can't share the projects that you've been working on or you've worked on in the past, but then there's always some times where you can open up just a little bit. And that's where I kind of want to ask you to kick off the episode. Of course, we have you, Gary. You know, you're the rogue one. You know Hollywood. You've written all these incredible scripts, all of these things that have come to light, maybe haven't been. But on the flip side, I guess my two questions would be one, if you could write anything, a comic, a novel, a movie, a TV show about a certain video game or maybe an Xbox franchise, is there one that you'd be willing to share and tell us about that you would want to do, your dream? Or is that like something you have to keep close to your hip, Gary?
You know, the funny thing about it is when I'm actually engaged in the work that I'm doing, it's not like an idle thing to speculate about. Like, you know, and I guess someone who doesn't work in the business could say, "Oh, I'd love to do this or that," but there is potentially anything out there that I might say. There's actually like at least a semi-realistic chance that it could come up one day because you know these projects come along all the time. I could tell you, I'm not going to, but I could tell you things that I've worked on that would make your hair stand on end. But I'm not allowed to because of NDAs, and you know I have to be very secretive about all that stuff. But yeah, it's there's definitely a handful of Xbox things over the years that have caught my eye in terms of, there's some potentially interesting storytelling here. As you may know, I actually worked on Halo briefly. I was a story consultant on the last
I do know
Halo game, and came up with some of the stuff that ended up in the finished game. That was really, you know, again, just to sit around the table with the people that kind of steer the ship creatively in the Halo franchise was just fun to do. Just sit around spitballing. Hey, what if Master Chief does this? It's just really, really fun to be in those rooms. And so I don't know. Again, I hesitate to say anything because I don't want to jinx something that I might want to do one day or might actually already be doing. So yeah, I got to keep my powder dry on that one.
I like that. Keep it dry. At least on my side, I get to speculate, right? I get to throw things up on the wall because, you know, I am the gamer. I am the
and I'll
fan.
Just stay poker faced over here. Yeah,
exactly. Gary just gets to stare off into the camera. But, you know, for me, I get my wish, right? Gary, growing up, being the big Xbox guy and being the big Halo guy, I get my wish of Halo, the TV show, coming out. Hopefully,
Yeah.
They have announced it next year, right? But we'll make sure that stays true. But that's something really near and dear to my heart that I'm really excited about. We've gotten different iterations of Halo out in that kind of entertainment sphere before, right? We've gotten little tastes of Fall of Reach and then the Halo. I don't know even what you'd call that, the Lock television show, I guess, way back in the day.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so there's some really special stuff there. And I really hope and wish that this Halo television show was a lot of fun and great because, yeah, that's a universe I really love. Of course, I think Halo fans would raise their hand and say, man, I'd love to see Gears of War, right? Gary, you think of Coltrane, you think of Dom and Marcus, and I think that would be a ton of fun to see some lancering of some Locust hordes out there would be cool. Another one for me and Barrett because, you know, this year Psychonauts 2 dropped. I would love a out there Psychonauts 2 like Netflix.
Oh God, yeah,
show.
but like no one but Tim could write it, right? Like,
no doubt, right?
You wouldn't dare to step into those shoes.
Yeah.
So,
and the way that Psychonauts 2 ends, I feels like it sets up like what there could be more going on in that universe that doesn't necessarily need to be a game, but could be more of like a televised thing, which I'd be down for.
Yeah, so it's always cool to think about your favorite franchises or games that you connect with, right? I think we all think of Mass Effect, right? And you see Amazon now talking it over, maybe releasing something like that. And there's a lot of awesome games that I wish would have more, but I've always cherished the time that I have with them. And that's all that really matters, you know, Gary. So I had to ask you about the Mirror's Edge because that was a cool tweet you put out. Everybody goes wild, wants to ask you questions.
I'm gonna stop doing it though because honestly, it's more trouble than it's worth.
It's so cool because we get to learn more about you, Gary, and we get to see that kind of side of you, which is really cool. Like you said, right? Some of those things you got to keep close to your chest, but it is awesome when you open up and share a little bit of it. And I think people get excited about that and see how cool that industry is and can be for sure. But you know, when you got me thinking of Mirror's Edge, you talked about the game and the story and stuff. I'm really happy of what Mirror's Edge was, and now where I still get a little taste of Mirror's Edge in Dying Light. You know, that franchise is that parkour, free running, now mixed with zombie action, right? But I do love seeing the DNA of Mirror's Edge in Dying Light, where I'm free running around the city. I'm jumping and grabbing onto legends. I'm zip lining across rooftop to rooftop. I really love how that team kind of took that DNA and put it into a zombie game where you're hacking and slashing, shooting, and you're battling zombie hordes with that free run, which is really, really cool to me.
Yeah, the problem from the Hollywood point of view often, and I think this is part of what did Mirror's Edge in, is that the projects that often have the most interesting stories or the most interesting like creative reason to develop it as a television show or a movie or whatever, aren't necessarily always the biggest commercial successes. Like Mirror's Edge does have a really interesting story, and Faith is a really interesting character, and it's a really interesting world, and they did an incredible amount of world building. When I was working on it, they sent me all the stuff, and it's oh my god, I actually didn't realize the world was this built out. But they really put a ton of work into it, and it looks, as you know, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's very kinetic, it's fun. But the games weren't big hits, right? We were lucky we ever got a sequel because it was a really interesting idea. But they didn't set the world on fire commercially. And you know, when you're pitching a project to Hollywood, the creative part of it is only half the equation. They think often it's less than half. The lion's share of it is, well, how do we know we're going to make money? Oh, well, because the game sold, 50 million copies or whatever. But if you can't say that, if the game wasn't a commercial hit, then it's harder to make the argument that the TV is going to be a commercial hit.
True that. Well, Gary, let's jump in. Let's talk about some Xbox. Let's talk about some Halo and catch up on the week that has been. Of course, this is the Kinda Funny Xcast. We post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and of course, your favorite podcast service around the globe. Don't forget that you can support Kinda Funny in a multitude of ways, whether you're going over and subscribing on our YouTube channels, totally for free. You're checking us out over on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, where you can smash that follow button and support watching Kinda Funny Games daily live or the Twitch streams that we do. You also can support on Patreon and watch the show live or any of our other content live or at your own time without ads. And a new way to support us is over on Epic. Remember, if you're buying a game over on PC via the Epic Game Store, please use our Epic creator code Kinda Funny at checkout. It's no additional cost to you. We'll get a small portion of that purchase, and you can support the Kinda Funny crew in a brand new way over on the Epic Game Store. We'd like to thank our Patreon producers for the month of December: Krainsky, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Alex J. Sandoval's, James Hastings, Casey Andrews, and Greg Miller returns to content next month. Nick should quit now. I don't know who that is, but nice Patreon producer name right there. A big thank you to our sponsors for the week here on the Xcast, Honey and Razor, but myself and the team will tell you about that a little later. Gary, let's jump into it. Let's talk Halo multiplayer, because last time you and I were on, we talked about the progression system, the battle passes, XP, and there wasn't enough of it, and what could they do? Then we saw the first step right in the right direction. They gave you 50 XP per game. Well, Gary, I'm happy to report as of this week, that has changed just a little bit. To give you a little taste, let me bring in Mr. Uni himself from 343, John Unisek. He writes on Twitter, when we made our initial change to progression, which added daily play one game challenges, updated weekly challenges, and doubled the duration of double XP boosts, we promised that we'd monitor the data and make additional changes if needed. Now it's time to follow up on that. After seeing how XP was earned with those changes, we noticed that players were starting their sessions with slower payouts than we'd like. To address this, we will be increasing the XP payout for the first 6 matches of each day. An outline of this update can be found on the next tweet. So it looks like this, Gary. For the first 6 games that you play, you will earn the following. Game number 1, 300 XP. Game number 2, 200 XP. Game number 3, 200 XP. And 4, 5, and 6 will all earn you 100 XP each to make a total of 1,000 XP for your first 6 games. You don't even have to win the games. You just get them. And then after that, you will return to the 50 XP right there. So, Gary, that's one full bar of your battle pass. That's one full level you and I have talked about, 1,000 XP. How does that make you feel? Are these the right changes you want to see to kick off the, following holiday break week.
I mean, so just so far as the progression and the reward system is concerned, and there's been a lot of conversation around that, and a lot of the dissatisfaction has been arrayed around that, and rightly so, because it is a bit, it felt a lot like pushing a boulder uphill, right? When you're getting 50 XP a game, 20, you got to run 20 apart from any like bonus XP you might get for specific challenges or whatever. If you're just looking at like XP earned per game, 20 matches to go up one level. It's very, very slow.
Yeah.
Contrast that to, Mike, I was just playing Fall Guys Season 6 this past week because that dropped as well, as you know. Went into Fiesta mode. It's funny how the Halo and Fall Guys have got Fiesta mode going right now. Jumped into the Fiesta Carnival with Fall Guys, literally played one game and like dinged 2 levels and got a bunch of goodies. And you immediately go, oh, thanks, Fall Guys. Yeah, this is great. Let's keep going. And obviously in each subsequent level, you got to work a little bit harder, and then you go over to Halo, and these like really, really kind of granular gains. It does really feel like you're not being rewarded as much as other battle pass systems have done historically in the past. So a couple of things. First of all, I do think this is a good change. I went in and jumped in and played a couple of games. I think it was yesterday, the first day that it was activated, this new system. And I actually had an XP booster running, so I got like 600 XP just for that first game. I first of all, it makes it's much more generous. Basically now 6 games to level up rather than 20. I like the fact that it's on a sliding scale. I think it encourages you to log in and play every day, because those even if you only play a couple of games, those are going to be the ones that pay out the most in terms of XP. And also the thing that I think is most encouraging about it is how quickly they responded to it, right? Like they got right on this. It wasn't like, like you look over in the Battlefield world right now, like the Battlefield community is really complaining about 2042, and there's a lot of ill will over there, and the EA guys, the DICE guys, I think are rushing to catch up with all of the things that they feel like need to be done, and they have implemented some changes, but I think far more quickly than that. You saw 343 like immediately, like just within days. And I guess it's not that much work to kind of tweak the back end to add more XP or whatever. But the point is they did it. They listened and they responded. And I think that is encouraging going forward. And in fact, I think it was just today I saw another post from their community side talking about some of the other issues that they want to be responsive to, like in playlists. And there's a long look. As much as people are loving the game, and let's not lose sight of the fact that we're all loving playing the game, the more you play it, the more your frustrations with what's there and what's not there start to creep in, and you're kind of more aware of the things that you wish the game was doing differently. And as the community is bringing those questions and those concerns and those criticisms to the fore, I think 343 is doing a very good job of showing us that they're listening and implementing changes very quickly as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think this is another step in the right direction, right, Gary? I think we talked about this. This is going to be a big battle for 343 to completely rework the battle pass in a snap of a finger like we all want, because we're playing the game 24/7, right? That's not logically possible. They're going to need to take small steps before the big step and the big change actually happens. But this does feel rewarding, right? We logged on today, Gary, me and the KindaFunny crew, and I could see, bang, there was 300 XP, now 200. I gained a level just like that, playing matches as fast as possible. And it felt good,
wild,
right? Especially after where we've been the last week, where it's like, oh, this is going to take forever here, right? It did feel good. And it's actually, now that we've talked about it so much, it's got me back on okay, now I'm really looking at challenges hard. I want to try to do the challenges, but still, again, it does make me feel like I'm not helping the team at certain facets of the game, Gary. Like, I saw a couple of them where like, oh, Mike, you got to go get a kill with a ghost. And now all I'm thinking in my mind is like, I got to find a ghost. I don't want to do anything else but find the ghost, because I need this challenge done. And I feel like I'm letting the team down. But it is nice to see the progression that we're making with these small and subtle changes. I think 1,000 XP a day for 6 games is a lot, right? That's a full level in the battle pass. It makes you feel good. I know it's not the Fall Guys method, right, that you and I are so accustomed to, or the Fortnite, but it does feel like it's a step in the right direction. So positive for them, especially during the holiday weekend, right? These guys and gals worked really hard to fix that and change that for what is November 29th, I believe they dropped this information. So right after the holidays, they changed that. So good on them.
It was
Now,
nice
Gary,
after playing like the first 2 days where like I played for hours that first day, and I think I had just gotten to like level 2, and then playing today, it was like, I don't know, after like 3 matches I already was like up to like a level, and I was like, oh, this is a much better pace. So hopefully, like, and I know what you're saying, Mike, with like the challenges and stuff, like encouraging people to not actually play the game and stuff, but I wonder if the with the more regular kind of XP by playing games, if people are going to be more willing to like save those challenges for like other games where they're like willing to bullshit, like big team battle, right? Where it's just like, all right, there's a lot going on here. I have a minute to go find a ghost to go kill some people, right? Whereas a lot of people are trying to do these challenges in like arena modes, which is like way more hardcore for V4. We need to be focused on the goal kind of stuff. So it's a small step in the right direction, I think.
Gary, let's talk about taking another step in the right direction. You tweeted out earlier, and a lot of the community has talked about it, Cosplay Cheaters on PC. Of course, Uni came back again, being one of the community managers from 343, and says, let's talk about cheating, Gary. Unfortunately, cheating is a natural part of supporting a free-to-play PC game, and it's one we anticipated. It'll never go away entirely, but we're prepared and committed to releasing constant improvements to our games, systems, and taking actions on bad actors. Gary, you tweeted out that you're like, hey, I just want to be with my Xbox people right now. I don't want to deal with all of this. Are you encountering a lot of cheaters on the multiplayer?
Just briefly, first of all, I want to get back to the subject of progression, because I want to talk to you
hit me with that
about cosmetics. But we can do that next. In terms of the cheating, there's for me, my personal experience with Halo. I find the funny thing is I've never. Fall Guys would be the only other game that even comes close. I've never encountered a game that I feel so compelled to play, and yet which makes me so unhappy when I'm playing it. Like, I'm never fucking happy that I spent the last 2 hours playing Halo. I'm always in a bad fucking mood because I'm not particularly good at it. And it just always seems so unfair. So here's the thing. I tuned into your stream the other night, Mike, and I'm so jealous of your mindset. I was watching you play, and you're pretty good. You got some skills, so that's good, right? That's something I'm envious of your skills. You got a good team going, but the thing that I'm most envious of is you've just got such a laid back attitude to it. Like when some horse shit happens to you, and you like run around a corner into like 3 other guys who like fuck you up. You're just like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how it is. Well, let's go again. Whereas I'm like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I get really, really annoyed, and I get really ragey, and I get really angry. The fact of the matter, Mike, is I'm just not very good at the game. And I have tried everything to get better at it. So I've been playing. I'm going to make a very sad admission to you here. So I busted out my biggest problem with the game is I'm just not very good at aiming, right? I get the basics of the game. I get the basic mechanics and the fundamentals. But like whenever someone shows up in my target reticle and I want to kill them, my reticle's all over the place because I oversteer, I over-aim, I overcompensate. And I want to have like more precise kind of dialed in precision aim. So I messed around with my controller settings and I dialed it all right down, but it's still very loosey-goosey to me. I busted out my Elite controller, which I very rarely use, because with the Elite controller, one of the nice things you can do is remove the thumbsticks, and underneath there's a little screw that you can turn that will actually adjust the tension on the sticks. So by making the sticks kind of a little bit, tougher to push and pull around, you're less likely to over-aim. I still found it a little bit sloppy. So I did some research, Mike, and I'm not being paid to advertise this product, I swear. I'm embarrassed that I sent off for this thing. I found this on Amazon. Have you seen these? This is from a company called Control Freak.
Okay, I've heard of
precision rings. Yeah. And they're like little cock rings for the thumbsticks on your controller. And what you do is you put this like little it's basically like a thick elasticated rubber band around the controller, and that provides. I'll read it from the back here. Control Freak precision rings improve your aim by adding resistance to stock thumbsticks. This prevents overshooting, so you can take more accurate shots. I haven't tried it yet. This package is still unopened. But the point is, Mike, this is how low I've fallen. This is what I'm desperate to do now. I'm ordering bullshit accessories off the internet to try and improve my aim. So when I get rocked really, really badly in a game, it's hard to know, and this is the frustrating part, if someone's just way better than me, or if they are actually cheating, which sometimes feels like it's edging into that territory. And you know me, Mike, I go on about cross play and cross progression all the time. I love that everyone should be able to play together. The problem when you have PC and console cross play is not just, I think it's an interesting dynamic, mouse and keyboard versus controller, everyone in there together. I think it's an interesting question. If you took the best 4 mouse and keyboard players in the world and the best 4 controller players in the world, put them in a match, who wins? That's a tournament I'd like to see. And maybe that's a way to definitively answer that question. But the problem is, because they can't turn it off, and because hacking is much more, it's not something that doesn't exist at all on console, but it exists way more on PC. We all know this. There's just no way to feel secure that you're not getting cheated on, right? And so I don't know. I'm not quite sure why Microsoft has decided in the ranked games you can select it, right? Controller only, mouse and keyboard only. Although again, you can just plug a controller into your PC, right? I'm not sure if it's discriminating based on system or control method. But I would like to, going forward, have the option to be in just a console only lobby, so I can feel at least a bit more secure that when I inevitably do get whacked in the head 20 times a game, it's simply because that person was better than me and I don't have to worry about whether or not they were cheating. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough, Gary. You know, coming hot off of a full year and a half of Call of Duty Warzone, right? That has been plagued with cheaters since the jump. When you make these free-to-play games, right, there's no punishment, Gary, right? These people get banned, they just go make a new account. They do it again, they get banned, they continue on, right? So without that $60 barrier where it's like, oh, am I really going to cheat and then get banned and have to buy the game again? It just leaves the door open. And so far right now, I've probably run into about 5 cheaters total in my day for Halo so far. So I don't feel like I'm getting it run rampant like it is in the Warzone, but you can tell it's starting to progress that way, right? I'm sure people are starting to find hacks on the internet they can download and jump into, and it does ruin the fun, right? Like you talked about, Gary. It's like my mindset is like, hey, I'm here to have fun. Yeah, sometimes we're going to get competitive, but when you are just overrun all the time by cheaters, it starts to wear and tear on you. And I think that's a big issue here with the free-to-play game, especially with Halo, that is trying to take over the mind share once again of the general audience, right? It's like, if you jump into games and you start getting run over by cheaters, you're going to find a new game to play. There's no questions about that. And so, yeah, 343 have a big task on their hands to look at the anti-cheat, look at the free-to-play model. How do they incorporate it all? How do you make a better system? Because right now, you and I can't even like in-game report. We have to go to a website, type in that person's name. They ask us for video proof as well to help elevate that. And you and I both know that's a lot, right? Every Tom, Dick, and Sally, all they want to do is say, hey, Gary's cheating. Click the button, report him. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. And so right now, there's barriers to do that where, you know, Gary might cheat and I might not ever report him because there's too much to do. I'm just trying to play and have fun. Yeah. So it will be interesting to see how they battle that, especially for the life.
And I don't know what preventative measures are currently being taken. Like you said, the fact that it's free to play is both a blessing and a curse, right? We love that it's free to play. It's bringing Halo to a much bigger audience. Free is great, right? We love this. And, you know, there's the monetization, I think, you know, is not particularly aggressive or grabby. It's, you know, it's just cosmetics, and the cosmetics are crap anyway. Like, I'm not going to spend any money on that stuff. So, you know, I spent $10 on the premium battle pass, and I feel like that was worth it in order to at least be able to go through all the progression tiers. But yeah, the downside is that when it's free, there's no way to stop people just, you know, recreating accounts when they get banned. It's one thing if a game's $60, how many times is someone going to want to go out and rebuy the game and create a new account for $60? But when it's free, you'll go all day long. So it's a real issue. And I'm not an expert on the technical side of it, but, you know, you see in other games discrete tools being used. Remember when hacking used to be a big problem in Fall Guys. All the time, you'd see hackers, we'd see little beans flying around and stuff, just hovering above, you know, the play field and just cheating and running out the clock and just flying around and all kinds of hacks. It would just make you not want to play the game. Then they brought in a system called Easy Anti-Cheat, and the hackers went away almost completely overnight. That system was very, very effective. Valve Anti-Cheat has been very effective in many, many Steam games, like, you know, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and others that I've seen. You're never going to wipe it out completely. I would be interested to dig a little bit deeper into when they're saying, oh, we're going to be, taking measures and on top of this. I kind of want to say, yeah, but like what? Like, explain to me exactly what it is that you're doing. Because they may not have like a discrete branded anti-cheat, technology on top of the game that is advertising itself as protecting the game. They probably have stuff kind of discreetly on the back end that they're doing. But I'd be interested in knowing more about it, because again, I honestly think that 99 times out of 100 when I get beat in Halo, it's just because the person was better than me. That is far by far, that's not in any way difficult to believe that someone's better than me at Halo. It's very easy to believe. Every now and again, though, you will see something that just seems kind of off, and it just knowing that they're out there, like it just you want to have that security of knowing that you're playing in a secure environment. And I've been looking at some websites where people have been posting videos, and it's clear that it's happening. It's a thing. It's a real thing, and it's a shame. I'll never understand the mindset of a cheater. Mindset. Like, where's the satisfaction? I don't get it.
No doubt, Gary. It's the worst. And here's another one let's talk about, Gary. Of course, people in the comment section are going to come after us and just say, well, just turn off crossplay on your Xbox, right? And just limit it to only Xbox users. And I think that's a conversation where you look at it now, when you look at 2021, the gaming landscape that we're in, right? The world is all about crossplay. It's about having the larger audience to keep your game alive, right? Do you want them to just disable crossplay, Gary, so you can play with only Xbox people? Or do you look at it as like, I want everybody to be able to play. I want to play with my friends no matter where they are. And I want to feel like the anti-cheat is working. But do you want to get to the point where, I'm queuing up only Xbox people only?
It's really interesting. Even if you took the cheating side out of it, and this is why you can make this distinction when it comes to ranked, where people are taking the game more seriously. I do want to. I want to. The other thing I want to know is when somebody beats me, is like, well, did they beat me because they're just better than me at the same control method, or is it just because they're using mouse and keyboard? Like I've tried to use a mouse and keyboard, and I'm just not as comfortable with it as I am with a controller. Strangely, I come from a PC background, but Halo, I just enjoy playing more with a controller. It's easier for me to find all the different, there's so many different buttons, right? Whether it be melee, jump, sprint, crouch, there's so many different things that you need to like have, access to in a millisecond. I personally just find that easy to do on a controller than, however I map my keys on a keyboard.
This episode is brought to you by Razer. With all the advances in gaming technology, you probably thought gaming laptops couldn't get any more beastly, but you thought wrong, because you have yet to meet the Razer Blade 15 Advanced. It's packed with the latest and greatest that Intel and Nvidia have to offer that will take you to new gaming heights. The Razer Blade 15 Advanced provides high-performance gaming on the go, striking the perfect balance between power and portability. The Razer Blade 15 Advanced models are equipped with stunning custom-calibrated displays that include a full HD panel with an incredibly fast 360 Hz refresh rate. Of course, Andy Cortez would be thrilled to hear that. And if that weren't enough, the Razer Blade 15 Advanced has a CNC milled aluminum chassis with a matte black anodized finish. The Razer Blade 15 Advanced has a long list of premium high-end qualities that make it the easy choice in gaming laptops. Head on over to Razer.com to give the gift of gaming this year, or splurge and get yourself a machine that can do it all. Again, go to Razer.com, check out the Razer Blade 15 Advanced. And next up, shout out to Honey. Folks, we need to talk about your online shopping habit, because if you don't have Honey, the free online shopping tool, you're straight up doing it wrong. Honey is a browser extension that scours the internet like an algorithm pirate searching for buried promo codes. When it finds one that works, it applies it to your cart automatically, sort of like the mythical hero Robin Hood. We've just mixed metaphors here, but you get my point. I've saved thousands of dollars using Honey over the years. It is so simple to use. You install it once, you don't need to think about it, and then anytime you're buying something, it just applies the codes. I've saved so much money on Hue lights. Whether it's a big store like Best Buy or something smaller like an Etsy, this is going to help you save a lot of money. Honey supports over 300,000 stores online. And if you don't already have Honey, you could be missing out on free savings. It's literally free and installs in just a few seconds. And by using it, you're doing yourself a solid and supporting this podcast. So get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kinda. That's joinhoney.com/kinda. Seriously, if you're not using Honey, you're messing up. Joinhoney.com/kinda.
But to answer my own question, I'd be interested to know what you think of this, Mike. I think if you did put the best 4 mouse and keyboard players up against the best 4 controller players in the world, the mouse and keyboard players are going to win, because there's no argument. You're just faster and more precise. If you assume the skill level is equal, the control method is just it's faster and more precise.
Gary, that is a pay-per-view that I would pay for because I do want to
a
know
really
the
good
answer to
idea.
that. Because there's part of me that totally agrees, right? I've watched mouse and keyboard players now. I've done it myself. I feel the accuracy. I feel the speed. I feel what you get out of that. But then there's another part of me that's like, Halo has been on controller for 20 plus years now, right, Gary? Like those pros, you think of Nick Merckx, right? You think of Ninja. Those pros have grinded on controller. Those guys right now in the HCS are the best at what they do on controller. And it's tough to think that like those guys would lose to just because we're playing on mouse and keyboard. So I don't know. It feels like
but
a
here's the
coin
thing.
toss to
But
me.
here's the thing that
Feels like a coin
now
toss.
that Halo is fully on PC, and there's going to be a lot of the best Warzone players, the best Apex Legend players, the best PUBG players, the best mouse and keyboard shooter players. Now that they're migrating to Halo and getting the hang of it, give it a little while for them to settle in. 99% of that skill set's going to cross over, right? Halo is a very particular kind of shooter. It's got a longer time to kill than most other shooters, but you run around and shoot people. You aim with a mouse, you jump around, you sprint, you crouch, you melee, all that kind of stuff. 99% of that is gonna carry over, and I think that once there is like the mouse and keyboard people, the skill set has had a chance to kind of settle in and bed in and get fully familiar with the mechanics of the game. And again, you get to a point where you say like these guys are as good as these guys, and the only difference is what control method do you have. I think the mouse and keyboard does give you an advantage. If you are as good with a mouse and keyboard as someone else is with a controller, you're going to beat them. And I know I'm not even going to the comments this week, Mike, because I know it's gonna
They're
pop
going
off.
crazier. Let's just put it out there. Hey, HCS, Halo competitive scene. Put this together during the big Raleigh Invitational that's going to happen in the middle of December. Find the very best, and let's just put on a fun best of 3 match as an intermission match.
Listen,
you know what
I was
mean?
watching. I was watching our pal Dr. Lupo is playing today in a $50,000 Halo tournament.
Yes.
He's a mouse and keyboard player. He is so fucking fast. Like you want to. Here's the thing. Like I'll give you an example. Like in Halo, you're getting shot from behind. The time it takes, even if you've got your sensitivity dialed right up on the control, the time it takes you to turn around, you're at a disadvantage. If you're getting shot from behind and you're a Twitch mouse and keyboard player, you can 180 in a fraction of a second and get on that guy. Don't you agree?
I feel that, Gary. Coming from playing a lot of Warzone this past year on mouse and keyboard, now trying to do mouse and keyboard and controller on Halo and jumping back and forth, there's no question. My mouse and keyboard quickness is so much better and faster, but I just have a better just control, I feel like, on my controller side. And so I go to controller because it's just what I know.
Listen, I think this is a very commercial event. I think we've got to pitch it. The controller versus mouse and keyboard debate has been raging for years. I feel like Halo is the perfect forum now to finally settle it. Let's do it. Let's find we should do 2 separate tournaments, right? A mouse and keyboard tournament, a controller tournament, and the winners of each play each other in the final bracket.
And then whichever wins, the other has to be completely erased from the gaming sphere. So if the keyboard and mouse win, no one else is allowed to use a controller anymore. We have to destroy our controllers and only play keyboard and mouse. Plug
Barrett,
it
what do you think?
PS5 like Nick Scarpino does. What?
What do you think on this debate?
The keyboard and mouse versus controller thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would probably say keyboard and mouse is probably where you're going to get more of the skill because there is more control, very specific control of your accuracy and stuff like that. I personally don't care. Just play whatever you want to play with, except if you're Tim and you're doing the weird hybrid half controller, half mouse and keyboard, then you're a sinner, and we don't want to acknowledge.
Oh yeah, he's wild. I like what he does, though. I like what Tim does, and I would like to try that. But Gary, let's keep it moving. Let's stick on the topic of Halo. Let's talk right now because I want to know what you want from Halo. We're seeing fixes being done to the XP and the Battle Pass, but we're nearing the release of Halo Infinite, right? The total package is what we'll call it on December 8th. And there's a lot of question marks right now on the multiplayer side that we all have seen and played right now. It's like, what do we want? Because there's a limited amount of content that we currently have. 10 maps, 3 game modes, right? We'll call that 3 different playlists you can choose from, X amount of game modes, which within the game you can play. And so what I really want to talk to you now is like, what are the things you want to see progress moving forward? Because going back to our good friend Uni over at 343, here's the tweet of the day. Let's talk about Halo Infinite playlists. We've been reading your feedback, and we're working on plans to add Fiesta, Tactical Slayer, aka SWAT, and Free for All playlists as we speak. But they won't land on December 8th. But the team is pushing to get them in before the end of the year. Gary, you have 3 game modes to choose from: Big Team Battle, Casual, and Ranked. We're not including the bot training facility. You have different game modes within them. What more do you want come December 8th and onward, really? Do you think that there's a lack of content?
So first of all, let me take this opportunity to get to that cosmetic part that I wanted to
Yeah, get in there,
well.
Gary. Tell me.
So we were talking earlier about the progression in the XP and how, you know, it's better now that you move through the battle pass and you know, you're advancing in level more quickly. But what does that really mean, right? We all like to see the numbers go up. I'm happier to be level 33 than I am level 32. It's nice to see the numbers go up. But what does it really mean? Like, what's the actual reward other than being a higher number? Your number isn't even advertised when you go into a battle, right? Nobody knows what level anyone else is. So you don't get to brag about your level. And so what you're getting is these cosmetics. And the problem is, and this is my biggest criticism, the cosmetics are just lame. They're just not very good. The samurai armor is pretty cool. But for the most part, these cosmetics are so minor. And some of the specific outfits, the esports outfits, are very, very cool. But you know, that's one specific locked outfit that you cannot then customize or change. Once you've got that, that's it. You cannot do anything else with it. In terms of like customizing your guy, you know, oh, now you've got a new chest piece or a new wrist piece or a new shoulder piece or whatever. That's cool. But like they're all so generic and so dull, and the colors are all just kind of the same. Somebody posted an image on one of the forums earlier this week of the level 1 starting armor and like the level 100 or whatever it is armor, like very, very high level. And it was like, spot the difference. Like, what's the difference between these two armors? You could barely even tell the difference. And so I would like to see them get more adventurous and a little more interesting with the cosmetics. And some of the kind of flaming effects and stuff that they add later on are interested in. But like, how excited do you want me to get about a visor that is ever so slightly different color to the visor I already have? It's not that exciting. And so for me,
really
watching
weird,
the number
Gary.
go up is not as interesting as like, oh, look at this cool new piece of armor that I'm rocking. I can show off on the battlefield. But especially in a game like this, you're running around so fast, you're never going to see that shit. It's not, you can't possibly tell what people are wearing, what they've earned. And then the other issue is because you can pay to progress. When I see someone wearing level 99 armor, I don't know if that's because they're a really experienced player who's grinded, you know, hundreds of hours to get there, or because they just paid $100.
They just paid $100, right?
Yeah,
right now.
most likely, right?
After a week of gameplay, I'm pretty sure we can say very few to a small percentage of people have actually earned the full battle pass with how the challenge system works. But you know, Gary, it is really weird because there's parts of me that totally agree with you, right? I look at it and I'm like, man, I look at this new Anubis armor that they just put in the storefronts, and I'm like, that doesn't speak to me. The colorway looks very odd. Then you look at another storefront item, and it's just like they're selling you a knife that you can put on your chest or a knife that you can put on your leg. And it feels like, man, these purchases don't really give me that much bang for my buck because they're so small, right? We talked about the Warthog selling you just a black windshield of the Warthog, right? Or a decal that you put on one of the vehicles. But I also, on the flip side, kind of like that, right? Like, I like that they've dove so deep into the customization that they give you so many options from one shoulder pad or the other shoulder pad, right? Because I think of like games like Call of Duty and Fortnite where it's like you just get the skin, you just get the banana guy, and you're the whole banana guy. You don't get to customize that much of the banana guy. And so I like how in-depth the customization is, but on the flip side, none of it is spoken to me, Gary, right? Like the colorways that I see that are for sale or earned on the battle pass aren't that cool to me. I don't like any of them. I like rocking this HCS skin because I think it is the cleanest looking. I think it's the most detailed they've done. And it's really interesting of like HCS skins are clean, Gary. The other ones are like armored, like tattered and dirty. And it's like, can I choose between clean and dirty? Why do I always got to be dirty if I choose a different colorway? But like on the other side, I'm super clean and it looks good. It's a really weird when it comes to customization. And then the flaming skull and the flaming armbands just don't speak to me right now. Gary.
Yeah, the biggest issue for me is they're just a bit like the core, you know, Master Chief style Spartan armor. It's a cool design, right? And all the variations on it are very cool as well. But the cosmetic customization, it's just, to me, it's very it's just drab, right? It's boring. When you think about other games, again, these are different kinds of games, but Fall Guys has all those wacky costumes. Even in Warzone, you can do they did the 80s action movie, guys, and obviously these are more mature games that have had a lot longer to, add these features. And Halo's got its core values where you're not going to be running around like looking like someone who doesn't look anything like a Spartan. That's always going to be the base look. Again, for me, the samurai armor is a cool example of how you can go and get a little bit more adventurous with it without, breaking, the design rules of the world. And I hope they do more of that. Let's get on to playlists. So you and I were talking
about playlists. Yeah.
So you and I were talking about this before the show. The game's been out long enough now, and people like you and I have played enough of it to start to kind of get a sense of how much is really there, right? And what we like, what we don't like, what our frustrations are. And I feel like we are now just starting to get to the point, after having played a lot for this past week or so, just starting to feel like we're starting to hit the edges of what they launched with. It's a really good excuse me. And this is all I think this is all it needed to be. And I think it's not even officially out yet, right? It's still technically in beta. But what they launched with is a really good Halo multiplayer starter kit. But that's what it is, right? It's a starter kit. And the whole point about a starter kit is you build out from it. The biggest disappointment, if I could flip one thing right now and change it immediately, and I think they are going to be looking at this, is take the randomization out of the playlist. So that if I want to play Capture the Flag, I can play Capture the Flag. If I want to play Oddball, I can play Oddball. You just don't know what you're going to get, right? Because it rolls the dice on the game mode and the map every single time. And that's that you can make the argument that keeps it fresh, keeps it interesting, forces you to try different things. But every now and again, like I personally like Oddball, but I have people I play with who fucking hate it. And when Oddball comes out, they're like, oh, fucking Oddball. I personally don't like the Power Seeds game. And when that pops up, I'm like, oh, really? We got to do Power Seeds? But you get on with it, And so I think, again, this is what they launched with. It's a good baseline. It's a good starter kit. We obviously need more maps. We obviously need more playlists. We need more game modes. Again, it feels silly to be complaining about this right now because it's so early. We know these things are coming. We know they have a roadmap. They're talking about it literally right now today, talking about all the things that they're going to add once they go beyond launch. A year from now, it's going to look, I'm sure, a lot more robust, and we're going to see many more maps, many more game modes, much more customization. In terms of being able to kind of have the Halo experience that you want on any given night when you log on. If I want to play this, I can play it. I'm not like at the mercy of some random number goddess that's going to decide if I play Capture the Flag or Slayer. I think the key is this: the foundation that they launched with a really, really strong foundation. The reason why this game has been, I would say, almost universally well received, right? We have seen the criticism. I think the criticisms about the playlists and the cosmetics and the battle pass are all valid, and we've talked about those. What's most encouraging, and that's all fixable as they build out the game and grow it and respond to the player feedback. The most important thing is the fundamentals of the game are solid, right? It's just fun to play. The weapons feel good. The maps are well designed. I've already had like so many, oh my God, I can't believe that happened type moments. Like the game generates those kind of epic moments. I probably pressed the share button. Remember when I said to you back on an early Xcast, I'm like, do we really need a share button? I never use it on my PlayStation. I've used it all the time in Halo. I pick someone out of the sky with a sniper rifle. I'm hitting that share button.
I love it, Gary.
And so it does a great job of creating those shareable moments, those kind of fishing stories that you want to tell to your buddies. Oh my God, wait until I tell you what happened in this Halo match last night. It's just really, really fun to play, especially if you're playing with a group of people on voice comms. So the mechanics, the fundamentals are strong. They have a great foundation to build out from, but obviously they do need to build out from it, because even now, after just a couple of weeks of playing it, we're starting to feel a little bit like, okay, what else you got? You know what I mean?
It's interesting, Gary. I know a lot of people are giving it kind of the safety net of, quote, it's in beta, right? And that's understandable. But when you look at the calendar, right, and we get to release day, we're on week 3 of multiplayer being out. We're going to be on week 4 and beyond when this releases fully on December 8th. And I am a little let down. I am a little cause for alarm, I should call it, on December 8th that the team might not update the playlists, right? I think that's something for me. I understand it in the beta. You keep everybody together. You can work out the kinks. We really don't have one game mode lacking in player base as opposed to another during this first testing 3-week period. But I thought for sure on December 8th, when this game released, we would elevate those playlists and really open it up to give us a wider breadth of different games that we could play, right? When I look at it, there's a lot missing there. I think on the ranked side, I would like to see ranked Team Slayer and ranked objective, right? Like we've seen in all other Halo games before. And then when I look on the social side, I would like to see social Slayer, social objective. I would like to see Fiesta or SWAT become a permanent mode, right? To give you something fresh, something fun to play. It's been 3 weeks and we've been really limited to just the 3 playlists that we have. I thought for sure on launch day, we would elevate that and expand it out a little bit to give players more choice and allow you to try some other things. And then on top of that, game modes, right? When I look around, Gary, where is Free For All? Why isn't SWAT in here? Where's One Bomb, right? Where's Bomb Assault? Where is, of course, Infection mode that we all know and love? There's a lot of question marks like 2v2 and other game modes that I thought for sure would be implemented by now or on release date. But to hear that the team is still working behind the scenes to maybe put that in later on or kind of limit what kind of game modes are put in during certain times is a little of a question mark to me, Gary, because Halo multiplayer is the biggest and baddest thing. That is something Xbox players have loved throughout the 20 years. And to get a very limited slate of game modes and playlists on day one doesn't feel quite right. And I'm a little worried about that because we're going to hit 4 full weeks of multiplayer content by the time it's Friday next week. That's a long time to be playing the same 10 maps and 3 game modes essentially with Oddball Slayer and Capture the Flag in that ranked playlist. That's not enough to me, Gary. I'm not pleased with that.
Yeah, it's this obviously is the issue. Anytime you make a game for a live online audience, a very rabid audience, the Halo fan base is very big, very passionate. They want this stuff. And as soon as you deliver it, well, again, whether it be a new Halo shooter, whether it be Battlefield, Warzone, World of Warcraft, Apex Legends, New World, you name it. Anytime you deliver a new game to an online audience that's going to consume that content, you're constantly kind of laying down the railroad track as the train is like threatening, to go over the edge of it, because the audience is going to consume that content so quickly. They're like, okay, what else you got? World of Warcraft would drop a new expansion and a new raid boss, and there would be high-end raiding guilds that would kill it, within a couple of days. And like, okay, what else you got? It took them 6 months to build that raid, and people fucking are now farming it in 2 days because those high-end players are going to do that. It's like, how do you feed this insatiable beast, right? That is this kind of ravenous fan base that you have. And at the same time, you're putting out all these other fires, right? Well, okay, so the Halo comes out right away. Well, we're not happy with the battle pass. Okay, well, we'll work on fixing that. You 6 guys go fix that. But what about cheating? We're having problems with cheaters. Okay, you guys go work on the cheating. Okay, but no, they're not enough maps. It's like, I'm not trying to, I don't want to make apologies for them, but and I personally, I would like to see, to answer your question specifically, I would like to see, I don't know if they've suggested whether or not this will or won't happen, December 8th, the actual full kind of 1.0 release of the game would feel like an appropriate date for them to do the first real, here's a new mode, here's a couple of new maps or whatever.
Yeah,
like
agreed,
here's a little
Gary.
refresh. At that point, though, I don't know at what, because I haven't spent a lot of time playing other shooters and watching how they've grown out and progressed in terms of new play modes, new maps being added. I'm not sure at what rate it is reasonable to ask or expect them to keep adding new content. I just know how I feel I've been played the game for hours, almost every day. I've been playing it every evening since it came out. I'm now at the point of feeling like I'm cycling through. You're getting to that. I'm getting to that. Okay, what else you got? Kind of. I'm loving what you've got. I just want more variety. Right.
And that's why December 8th should be the day, Gary. You would think that December 8th would be the day, version 1.0, the full launch of Halo Infinite. You think that would be the day. And so it will be interesting on our next podcast next week, right? When the game is officially out, we'll have this conversation. Did they add anything new? Are they really sticking to later on in the month before the new year? They'll give us maybe a game mode or 2, maybe 3. We'll see, but we'll find out with that. Let's talk about another one, Gary. Let's talk 2 more things here on the things we'd like to see added, fixed, whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about maps really quick, Gary. You have 10 maps that released. Are you happy with the maps? Would you like more maps on day one? How many more maps do you really need? What do you feel about the maps? Are you enjoying them?
I think yeah, for the most part, I think they're good. There's obviously two sets, right? The big team maps and then the smaller 4-on-4 maps. And I think they're largely there isn't like a single map that I really hate. I've got my preferences. There are ones that I like more than others, but I've not encountered one where I'm like, oh, this is the map. Oh, this is the bad map. This is the one that I don't like. I think they're all very, very good. And I think they all, lean into kind of different. There's good places to snipe and hide, and again, I've been playing for long enough now. I'm starting to learn the maps and figure out. You know how it is. Like half of these half of the battle is knowing the map, knowing the routes, knowing the spawns, knowing the spots where you can hide. And I'm starting to learn that now. And the longer you play, the more you get a sense of an appreciation for, oh, I see why they designed it the way that they did, because that created like a bottleneck, or, players are definitely going to engage in this area, or it gives you a variety of different ways to approach an objective. They're all very cleverly designed, especially the big maps. I think the bigger a map gets, the harder it is to kind of, design it well, because you don't want it to be just like a bunch of random space. I think I never remember the names of any of them, but I think there's a couple of maps in particular that I think are really well designed on the big team battle side. But again, yeah, much the same as with game mode, it's, I'll play, because it's completely random. We had a situation, I think it was a couple of nights ago, where the same map popped in a row 3 times, different game modes, but the same map 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen when, there's only 6 sides of a dice or a die, right?
Yeah, that's my tough part, Gary, is there's 10 maps, and I've broken it down like this, Gary. There's 5 small maps that you're going to see a lot of 4v4 maps, or 4v4 ranked gameplay, social gameplay on. Then there's 2 medium-sized maps that just feel a little too big for 4v4, Gary, but sometimes they're sprinkled in there. That is, of course, Behemoth, and that's the other one is Launch Site. So you'll occasionally see those, but they feel almost too big for 4v4. And then there's the big team maps that right? The big 3, Deadlock, Fragmentation, and High Power. And like, those are great. But for me, like you said, Gary, right? This is going on week number 4. 5 maps in a small 4v4 rotation just doesn't quite feel enough. Maybe if those 2 maps that I consider medium were thrown in more, like, think to yourself, how many times have you played Behemoth and or Launch Site truly and honestly? Not many times. They seem in this weird area where they're not being thrown into ranked, and social gets them occasionally. And then on the flip side, on big team, they're definitely not getting thrown into big team. And so it's like really weird. I wish those 2 maps were smaller and they were really guaranteed in that playlist rotation, because I don't feel like I see Launch Site and Behemoth enough.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think this is a criticism that speaks to how much we're enjoying the game, right? So we just wish there was more of it. It's like being given a delicious slice of cake and going, "Oh my god, that cake was so good. Is there any more?" And the guy's like, "No, that was it." Like, "Oh, I really would have liked another slice of that cake." But right now we're waiting for Microsoft and 343 to deliver that other slice. Again, the key is this: the foundation is good, the starter kit is good, the combat mechanics, the gunplay, the maps that are there, they know what they're doing. It's just fun. So as much as it makes me rage, as much as it makes me want to toss the controller, I keep coming back because they've dialed in that gameplay mix just right, both in the 4v4 and in the 12v12 modes. It's chaos, it's fun, there's all kinds of shareable moments. Like it's a really, really fun game to play with friends in particular. I'm having a blast with it. We like it so much, we just wish there were more of it. And again, so the question becomes, at what rate is it reasonable to expect them to keep building it out? And again, I think that December 8th date feels like it would be nice for them to add even one more match. Just something fresh. And as you go into 2022, again, the community post that I saw today suggested that they obviously have a roadmap. They have an eye on more maps, more game modes. There's a lot of different game modes from Halo history that you referred to earlier that can be brought up to date. I think there's still an open question of whether or not they ever wanted to try a battle royale, or just what other things can they bring into the mix. There's a lot they can do with it. And again, I don't know. It's not like I'm banging my fist on the table going, "God damn it, Microsoft, where are my new maps? I'm already bored of these maps." But I am at the point where I'm like, oh, this map again, or this mode again.
Yeah.
It's like and again, 6 months from now, a year from now, 343 have done their job the way I expect them to, in which they really need to. We're not going to have this problem anymore because there's going to be so much more content. But
Correct.
yeah, it's funny. I'm surprised we are getting to that point now, and I'm surprised people didn't notice it earlier, or maybe they were, and I didn't notice them talking about it. But like people were saying, even from day one, like this game is great, but there's actually not that much of it. It's just a handful of maps and a handful of game modes.
So my final one, Gary, that I want to talk about and see your thoughts on, of course, is the store. And I know the comment section right now is going to go insane because everybody has a certain type of feeling about microtransactions. But for me, Gary, coming from Fortnite, Apex, and Call of Duty, right, these games that have shown the free-to-play model or really just the live service model with the storefront, I noticed that Halo is really stuck to their guns of very limited selection. Yes, I know it's a beta, but we're getting to full release soon of like very limited selection that changes once per week. I would like to see the store have a couple of items that change daily. I think that was something I really liked in Fortnite, where it was like, oh man, when I turn on the game, I want to look at the store. There might be something new added. There might be something enticing for me to open up my wallet and buy and pay for, especially in a game where we just talked about cosmetics, right? Like we really like the detail and all of the cosmetics. Sure, it might be lacking in our general interest, but I do really love the world of Halo. And I like the idea of the different color palettes that I'll put on my Spartan. I like the idea of maybe different cool attachments that might go on to the outfit itself. And so I look at the storefront, and every time I get a little let down because it changes once a week. And I know it's a beta still, but I do wonder on December 8th if they'll look at that storefront and see how they can elevate it to, drive more microtransactions, support the team like that, right? Whether you buy them or not, it would be interesting to see if they'll go to that daily rotation model with 2 or 3 items or bundles and then still have the weeklies right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is the one area where you can, of course, be assured that they will not slack off or drop the ball because this is where they make money. This is where they make their money. If they add another map, that doesn't necessarily, and players are happy, but that doesn't necessarily make them any more money. If they add like a really new cool piece of armor that costs $10 and a lot of people want it, that's how they make their money, right? We know this is a free-to-play game, right? $10 for the premium battle pass, which I suspect many people picked up. But beyond that, they decided not to make this a $6. They could have sold a lot of copies of this at $60. And, to people who aren't on Game Pass, they will. But, the whole game is obviously included in Game Pass as well. But yeah, this is the free-to-play model, right? It's all cosmetics. And we know that there is a lot of money to be made. Activision makes a fortune selling Warzone cosmetics, right? Even like Counter-Strike and these games, the Fall Guys store, people buy this stuff. They love their cosmetics. They love having this stuff. So Microsoft knows there's money to be made there. So this is one area where it's like, oh, what did we forget to do today? Oh, the thing that we make money doing. Like that's not going to happen. Like I think as they ramp up, they will make sure that there'll be plenty of offerings and things to keep you interested. My question is, and I don't want to tempt fate by asking this, might there be other way, like could there be like a map pack or something that they could release in the future? Like here's a bunch of new maps, but now it's $10 for this or whatever. Like the starter kit was free.
You're not allowed to do that nowadays, Gary, because it segments the audience too much and they know better.
No, that's a good point. I think
back in the day they used to do that. Oh yeah.
Well, yes, they did, but again, the point is well taken, Mike. That again, you're looking at this business model is very, very, very well established, right? It has been now for a while by games like Fortnite, by Apex Legends, by Call of Duty Warzone, where it's basically it's like you don't need to sell anything else, just sell the cosmetics, the shiny gold gun, the John Rambo skin, whatever it might be, just purely cosmetic stuff. There always will be people who buy it. And I think it probably is, the same thing in the mobile economy, where they like 90% of the income comes from like 5% of the player base, the people they call the whales that spend big money, right? People like you, Mike, you're a whale. You're a Halo whale. You're a whale. And so you are going to be, people like you, Mike, are going to be the linchpin of Halo's economy, right? The first person to buy those cosmetics and keep the game free for the rest of us. We should be grateful to people like you who splurge all your
People
disposable
out here
income.
getting mad at me. I'm throwing my money down because I'm down with it. I want to support.
You're spending your money so that I can have the game for free, and I'm very, very grateful to
Thanks,
you
Gary.
for that.
You're so kind of that.
Again, I do think that again. Let's imagine. Let's speculate what Halo is going to look like next Christmas, right? What's going to like 1 year in, and we'll circle back a year from now, Mike, and we'll do like what's the state of Halo Infinite 1 year in? What have we looked at? We can predict that now. I think, again, if they've done their job, if they haven't dropped the ball, we're going to hopefully many more maps, many more game modes, maybe a few other things that we're not expecting to keep things interesting, more special events, right? I was kind of so on the Fiesta event, but I think that it shows that they can keep things fresh with lots of different types of themed events, seasonal events, seasonal skins, like what's going to happen at Halloween. Like, I love that kind of shit. Are we going to have like pumpkin head Master Chiefs running around?
No doubt,
like,
Gary, yeah.
We love, orange and black themed, shiny Halloween skins. Like that's the kind of stuff we like to see. That's the kind of stuff we want to have fun with. And I think a year from now, I'll be very surprised if there is not a very robust microtransaction store, because without that, they don't have a game.
I'm pretty excited about it, Gary. Let's see if we become Santa Claus here at the end of the month. Maybe they'll put out a Santa hat. You never know. But of course, everybody out there listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube, please let us know. Tweet at me and Gary or leave a comment down below. Let us know the fixes and the changes you would like to see in the Halo Infinite as we get closer to the full release on December 8th. And of course, what game modes, playlists, storefront, whatever you would like to see added into the game. And of course, my final question as well to everybody on the audience, should there be ranked big team battle? Because that's one of my favorite game modes / playlists. And I'd like to see ranked big team battle come back. But that's my question for you.
Chaotic almost.
I'd love that.
What?
I want to get 12 of my friends, and I want to feel like we're playing for purpose there. And I think that's the issue. Is it's so chaotic and like lefty loosey, and like I like that it's chill. But I want to get 12 of my friends, and I want to feel like, we're commanding a squad now, and we're going out for a purpose, and that's what I want to see.
That's the thing.
They seem like opposing ideas to me, but more power to get it.
It'd be difficult to implement, but I would be. This is another esports event that I would watch. Would be a big team battle tournament against 2 organized teams of 12 with full communication.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
So the best you can hope for in big team battle right now is 3 squads who are all in communication within the squad and have good cohesion and know what they're doing. But there's no way for those 3 squads to coordinate as part of a bigger team, right? They could all run off like if it was fully organized in a big team battle, you'd say, okay, well, these guys are definitely going to hold back and defend the flag. These guys are going to go get it. But you watch big team battle, and sometimes the flag is totally undefended because everyone's trying to go get it.
Mayhem.
Yeah, and it is just an absolute mess. And so I think if there were a way I think there'd be a way to do ranked big team battle. I think it would be very interesting to see the dynamics of a game of that size, but you'd have to have a way for all 12 players to organize themselves as a single unit, not just 3, separate squads that are all kind of doing their own thing. The other thing that I find fascinating, and I don't know if this is something that's been very opaque on Microsoft's side, and it's the kind of thing that they may not ever reveal kind of more detail on, but there's been a lot of conversation. I've got a couple of players who are way better than me that are at that Diamond Onyx level who really, really care about their rank, who are really thinking about like how they rank up and down. And I've been watching. I'm only Silver 6, but I've been watching my rank. I started at Silver 5. I grind my way up to like halfway through Silver 6. I want to get to Gold 1 if I can, and I'm watching my rank go up and down as I play, and I'm having a hard time correlating my performance in the games to how it affects my rank. And right now, the algorithm, I'm not entirely sure what it's looking at. Is it looking at wins and losses? Is it looking at individual team performance? Is it just your KDA? I feel like there's a lot of different things that it's tracking that is probably more complex than just simple like kill death ratio or whatever. Because I'll play a few games where I feel like I perform poorly, but my rank will go up. So the algorithm's doing some stuff that I don't understand. I think that it'd be interesting to get to the bottom of how that works.
Gary, I'm going to reach out to 343. I'm going to get you that answer because I would like to know that as well. But let's end this podcast with some fun, with some laughter and some smiles. I have brought up HaloTracker.com. You can go do this
to me.
This is unofficial, official, but like this is definitely unofficial. So don't think that these are your true, like up-to-date stats, but it's very close. And we're going to look at Gary and myself because I say that because I look at it and it says lifetime overview. The time that I've played is 29 hours. But then when I go over to Steam, where I've played mainly, it's at 60 hours. So I don't quite know if it's matching up fully, but it is a fun little perspective that we could take a look at. And Gary, I want to touch on one thing. Of course, when we talk about this, we're going to laugh, we're going to smile, and then we'll come back and check in a week or 2 weeks because you're going to put those controller stick condoms on and you're going to tell us if they actually work.
I'll report back next week on how these went.
Rings, thank you.
The cock rings, yeah.
But when I look at yours, Gary, right now, your shot accuracy, 32%, Gary. So 32%, better than mine. That is currently at 29%. So you are better than me at that.
Basically, roughly 1/3 of my shots hits. Basically,
1/3 of the shots. So not bad, Gary. So look at that one, right?
You're and then batting like a 3.33 right there.
Yeah, if that was a batting average, that'd be pretty solid.
Yeah, exactly. People would be calling you, Gary. Is right. So then when I go take a look over here, you got 42% wins. Right, you've won 133 matches, 159 lost. So not bad
I feel like
all.
I feel like I've lost so many more than I've won. But you know what it is? It's confirmation bias. You don't remember the wins, but you stew on every loss.
Oh, you do that. Is right, Gary. When we look at it, right, I look over here and I see your damage dealt versus your damage taken. Your damage dealt is at almost 1,900,000 right there. Your kills, 2,600, 2,616 kills. So not bad on that, Gary. You actually have, due to this Halo treasure, more kills than me. I have 1,800 kills, Gary. So you are.
What's my KD?
Your KD. Let's see if they show KD. Your KD 0.83, Gary, with us. So let's see if we can. Oh, and guess what? We're tied. So let's see who can get to one first, Gary.
I can see for me, 1 is the baseline, right? You want to keep
one is where you got to be, Gary. I want you to be
if I do 20 kills and 19 deaths, I'm really happy. If I do 19 kills and 20 deaths, I'm pissed. You just want to be on the right side of that 1.0.
When did it move down to 1, Mike? And you're the competitive shooter guy, so you're gonna be in the know. Whereas like I wasn't really I haven't been into like the competitive shooter with my friends since high school in the Black Ops days, right? Where like we're going 2.0 or more, and a 1.0 is a failure. Like when did that kind of change for people? Because I feel like everybody now is like I gotta hit.
Is that 1.0 like the baseline for most people now?
I think 1 is you feel good about yourself because that means you're even, right? Like that's where you want to be. You want to be contributing to the team. You want to be breaking even. Once you go over 1, that's when people start to look to you, right? And yeah, I'm sure 1.2, 1.5 isn't that much of a looker, but like when you see somebody with a 2 or above, then you start going, oh my gosh, that person is insane, right? But if you can get to 1.0 as an average player like all of us, you feel pretty good about yourself, right, Gary? Like you said, right?
Yeah.
If I can go 20 and 19, I'm up right there and I'm happy.
Yeah. And it's just a personal thing. You want to get over on them more than they get over on you. Where the only time that I start to kind of feel more where I feel like it has more of an impact is if I'm in a Team Slayer game, whether it be big team or just 4-on-4 and it's first to 100 or first to 50 and the other team is 3 kills ahead and I've got 3 kills but 6 deaths. I feel like I'm the reason we're 3 behind. You know what I mean? I feel like that's on me.
Gary. I think, like you talked about, the approach of, remembering having fun. And also remember, like, these stats are also carrying over with everything, right? This is quick play where you might be just shooting the shit with your friends. This is ranked where you might get competitive, right? But, like, in all honesty, every game I go into, I have one goal, and that is just to try to finish positive, right? I don't need to hit 20. I don't need to hit 25. If I can go 8-7 or 8-3 or 10-5, that's what I'm really looking for lately, Gary. That's what I'm mindful of when I hit the battlefield as of late. It's like, how do I go positive? That's where I want to be. I want to go positive, of course, help the team with the objectives. But even when we do objective games, I want to see if I can stay positive the whole time is my challenge.
My and I touched on this earlier when I was talking about how I admire your positive attitude when you play and you don't let anything get you down, is what I want to try to do is just get into a better mindset, because you always got to remember it's just a game. And again, we all rage, and rage quits are a real thing. I've done it, but like even in Fall Guys, when I would rage quit, I'd go, yeah, it's kind of funny how annoyed I'm getting. But there's something about Halo, I actually get really, really annoyed. And if I have a really bad game, as I often do, where I just feel like I just cannot get a break. We've all had these games, right? You just cannot get a break. Right, every time you go into a one-on-one, there's some other guy that comes around the corner at the last second and fucks you over, or the second you get a kill, someone kills you right immediately. You don't even get a moment to enjoy it, and I'll end up with like 5 kills but like 10, 15 deaths, like a really, really bad game. that will really linger and sit with me. I feel like almost embarrassed to admit this, but I get really annoyed about it. I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I playing this game? It's just making me angry. And I know I'm sure I'm not the only one. A lot of other players feel this way, but I feel like the key to enjoying this game is not how good you are at it, but how well, you can enjoy playing it no matter what happens. It's like when I used to play golf a lot. I'm terrible at golf, but I don't care. I'm out having a good time, and whether or not, I have a bad score, it doesn't matter. But I play with some people who are way better than me, and they take it so seriously that at the end of the day, they had a much better round than me, but by their own standards, they didn't, and they're pissed. I'm glad I had a day out golfing. They're stewing on the fact that they got that bogey on 12 or whatever. And so that's the key, right? Just remember that it's a game, that we're all here to have fun, and win or lose, we're all having fun together, and don't let it get under your skin. And I'm preaching to myself as much as I am preaching to everyone else right now, because this is a lesson I need to learn myself. I was really steaming a couple of days ago. I just had one of these sessions where I just could not get a break. We've all had those days. I just got fucked over again and again and again. And I literally had to let go calm. I was so annoyed. And I don't know what it is about this game. I guess it's part of the reason why Halo has been so compelling over the years, because it has that, it grabs you and it makes you want to be good at it. And so when you're not as good as you can be, and you played a great game yesterday, but for some reason you can't get into the groove today, it just has that, it just gets its claws into you.
And that's the best way to end this episode, Gary. Halo is back, and what you should be thinking is, how do I go play with my friends? How do we have a wonderful Friday night together? How do we smile? How do we laugh? And how do we do some dumb stuff that we can make into clippable moments? So I challenge you all out there listening, go change up your mindset, go have fun jumping into Halo Infinite, and we'll see you next week, where, of course, we'll all be playing Halo Infinite campaign, so we'll talk about the story of Master Chief himself, Spartan 117. With that, Spartans, go hit the battle arena. We'll see you next week. Peace!